The murder trial of the men who gunned down Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia has entered its fifth day. So I want to give you some context. I want to give you a refresher because, look, understand that the Rittenhouse trial has taken out a lot of oxygen from the room. And so a lot of people, understandably, have been focused on this because it is a very complex trial. There's a lot, there's a lot of divisiveness over this trial, and so, unfortunately, as a result of all the attention, which is rightly deserved, of course, the Ahmaud Arbery situation, the trial for those who have murdered him, hasn't been getting a lot of attention, and so I'm going to remedy that. As I said, context, details. So Ahmaud Arbery was a 25-year-old black man, and he lived in the Georgia area and had been jogging in the neighborhood several blocks from his house. Now, at one point, he had stopped to look at a house under construction. This is something that a lot of people apparently have done in that area and had alarmed some people, not just for Arbery, but others who had stopped to look at this unfinished house. Okay, so he stopped, as a lot of people have, and for a few minutes, and then resumed his run. Now, two men believed that he looked a little suspicious, and decided that they were going to arm themselves and make a citizen's arrest. So first, they armed themselves. They chased down Arbery with their trucks. There was a third man that also joined in as well, leading to a confrontation in which Arbery was shot and killed. Now, the men, Gregory and Travis McMichael, are on trial for that shooting. They are facing 1 count of malice murder, 4 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, 1 count of criminal intent to commit a felony, and 1 count of false imprisonment for chasing Arbery and attempting to detain him without legal authority. So now, malice murder and felony murder in Georgia are pretty serious charges. They are all punishable by either the death penalty, life in prison, with or without the possibility of parole. Some of the other charges range from 5 to 20 years in prison. So all of those very, very hefty charges. So that said, we've got a lot of details here. So now Arbery, as I said, he was jogging in the neighborhood when Gregory McMichael thought that Arbery had looked like a man suspected in several break-ins. So now he wasn't committing crimes. He wasn't the one that was known for these break-ins, nor is there any evidence, of course, there was that he was responsible. But the McMichaels in that community that had been plagued with some crime decided they were going to confront him anyway. Now, according to the police report, the men grabbed a .357 Magnum handgun and a shotgun, got into their pickup truck, and chased Mr. Arbery, trying unsuccessfully to cut him off. A third man, William Bryan, was also involved. In fact, there was a video from his cell phone that was shown at the trial. During the chase, the McMichaels allegedly yelled, "Stop, stop, we want to talk to you," while, of course, they're holding their weapons. And, of course, pulled up to Mr. Arbery. McMichael had gotten out of the truck with his shotgun. McMichael had also stated to the police, this is in the police report, he said the unidentified male began to violently attack Travis, and the two men started fighting over the shotgun, at which one point Travis fired a shot, and then second later, there was a second shot. The police report and documents do not indicate that Mr. Arbery was armed at all. A cell phone video shot by Mr. Bryan shows Arbery running along a shaded 2-lane residential road when he came upon a white truck with Travis McMichael standing beside its open driver's side door with the shotgun, Greg McMichael, his father, in the bed of the pickup with a handgun. So Mr. Arbery runs around the truck, disappears briefly. Muffled shouting was heard before Mr. Arbery emerges, fighting with Travis McMichael outside of the truck, as there were 3 shotgun blasts. Of course, at that point, Arbery was hit, tries to run, staggers, and falls, and that's where he dies. So now, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution had published another video that showed a man walking into a house under construction in the neighborhood and running out of it. That was, of course, proven later to be Arbery, but the video, of course, shows that he had done nothing illegal to precipitate those men chasing after him. Now, S. Lee Merritt, a lawyer for Arbery's family, on a video said this: he stopped by a property under construction where he engaged in no illegal activity and remained only for a brief period. Ahmaud did not take anything from the construction site. I mean, so that's pretty clear. Now, how many people have done the same thing? Well, it turns out a lot of people have done the same thing. Stop by, take a look. It's actually kind of fascinating. It's kind of cool to see the inside of a house, with its guts out. Like, it's not finished. There's probably stuff everywhere. It's interesting. It's very interesting. It's cool to see the inside of a house. Now, that's not a crime. And so, if you're going down the street, and by the way, all right, I can understand how some people might be a little wary of people, or not really wary, but maybe annoyed, like, okay, look, you should probably stop going into that house. That's not yours. But again, this no doors, no windows, kind of open, unsecured, whatever, right? Now, if you were really worried about it, you would do, maybe put some fencing up or something like that. Okay. Now, that said, the McMichaels were apparently very, very concerned that this black man kept stopping into that house, checking things out, and leaving. Again, not a crime. So now McMichaels, their attorney, are saying that the entire situation that had led from that, after the chase that ended in the final confrontation, was self-defense. Oh no, see, after we cornered him, Ahmaud Arbery attacked us, and we were defending ourselves because we were the ones in danger. Oh, okay. Well, you were defending yourself by grabbing guns and chasing someone down you thought might have robbed a house. Now, their lawyers argue, well, not only was it self-defense, but we actually had the right to carry out a quote-unquote citizen's arrest after suspecting Arbery of neighborhood break-ins. Travis McMichael, had said that he had shot Arbery in defense, fearful that Arbery would take his gun. Now, again, that law in Georgia required either immediate knowledge of a crime or reasonable and probable ground to suspicion of someone fleeing a felony offense to go and do a citizen's arrest. Now, that was the old law. It has since been amended. But the defense said that Arbery had, quote-unquote, resembled someone he had seen doing crime. So now for me, it makes me think, okay, why would they come to that conclusion? Black man, obviously. Now, authorities also found no stolen items on Arbery's body. Because, of course, right? A Glynn County Police Department detective had also testified on Tuesday, so now we're getting into more recent stuff, that Gregory McMichael actually admitted that he never saw Arbery commit a crime. Quote, I don't think the guy has actually stolen anything out of there, or if he did, it was early in this process. The detective quoted McMichael as saying that during that interview, but he keeps going back there over and over and over again to this damn house. Maybe he's really interested. I mean, from what we know about Arbery in his past, is that he's trying to figure out what he wants to do with his career. Maybe he was interested in houses. I don't know. Woodworking, electrician work. I don't know. Or maybe it just fascinated him. Who cares? It's immaterial. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why he was there. If he's not committing a crime, this is fine. It should be fine. In fact, Glynn County Police Officer Jeff Bradenberry, who also interviewed Gregory McMichael, testified on Tuesday that McMichael never used the words arrest, detain, or trespass when he spoke with him at the scene of the shooting. Bradenberry testified that Gregory McMichael appeared, quote-unquote, animated and amped up when he arrived. Well, because he just shot somebody. Now, prosecutor Linda Dunikowski asked the officer, quote, did he ever tell you why you were talking to him that he was attempting to make a citizen's arrest? And he replied, "No, ma'am." So it wasn't a citizen's arrest. At least he he did not. So he basically changed his story. What he's saying? Oh, we were doing a citizen's arrest, except that no, we were not doing a citizen's arrest because I never told the officers that's what we were doing. Later on, after this had happened, remember, this took 2 months to get an indictment here. 2 months. Because the police in that area, because understand, one of the McMichaels used to be a police officer. And so the police loved him. And like, oh, you shot somebody? Okay, that's totally fine. He must have been a criminal. He must have had it coming. And then only after the video had come out and everybody saw how horrifying it was, the death of this young man for no reason, and the subsequent chase. I mean, that's when they had to do an indictment. They had to do an indictment. So now, by the way, speaking of the chase, Brian, going back to him, had repeatedly even tried to hit Arbery with his truck and to force him down into a ditch. Now, that attempt right there led to the final confrontation that Arbery was running from, and with good reason, by the way. With good reason. Because he was being chased by 2 armed men in a truck in Georgia with one of the pickup trucks emblazoned with a Confederate flag plate. In that situation, why wouldn't you run? And by the way, the judge in this case said, we can't admit that as evidence. That has nothing to do with it. But also, they decided not to admit for the defense Arbery's criminal history or mental health state. So that said, he was cornered. And when you're cornered, well, are you going to defend yourself? Now, the question about this case, when it comes to self-defense, now, obviously, the defense is saying that the McMichaels, well, of course, we had our right to self-defense because we were being attacked. What about Ahmaud Arbery's right to self-defense? That matter at all? Again, what was going through his mind when he was being literally chased by 2 men in a truck, and a third that joined in, by the way, that was trying to ran him off the road? What do you think that he was thinking? What do you think that he was thinking? I got to defend myself. These white men are going to kill me if I don't do something. And that's probably why he started fighting back and tried to take one of the McMichael's guns. I think it was Travis's gun, the shotgun, and failed. Was unable to do that. Now, in fact, Greg Michael said in a recorded interview, and this was admitted as evidence on Wednesday, that he said that Arbery was, quote, trapped like a rat. So this is how they referred to him. All right. Quote, I think he was wanting to flee, and he realized that something, he was not going to get away. So they cornered him. They cornered him. And then they have the gall to say, we were just defending ourselves from this violent criminal, which again, wasn't a criminal, hadn't done anything wrong, wasn't armed. I wonder, had he been armed, would then they respect Ahmaud Arbery's right to self-defense had he had a gun? Now, I'm guessing probably not. Now, there's another person that was also, that had come out. This is Matthew Albans. Albans. Now, he had called the police, but he didn't call the emergency line. And I think that was interesting. So this neighbor had also seen Arbery go by and had grabbed his gun. So like everybody's grabbing their guns when a black man runs by. Yeah, pretty suspicious, right? Now, Albans said, and this is what he told the jury, that he called the police non-emergency number. When asked why didn't you call 911 to get actual cops out there? He said, quote, I did not see an emergency. So now, as I said, this same neighbor feels a little bit of, just a tiny bit of remorse, saying, well, maybe, if I hadn't it done what I did, well, then, maybe this wouldn't have happened. I don't know. But again, this entire case hinges on self-defense, as well as being able to make a citizen's arrest. Now, to me, self-defense, that claim seems asinine. You can't claim self-defense, in my book, if you're actively chasing someone who's obviously trying to run away, as Arbery was doing. He was trying to run. In fact, I think it was Gregory McMichaels that had said something about him being in really, really good shape, not even fazed by being running. Well, again, he was running for his life. You get into, fight or flight mode, right? And unfortunately, when you're trapped, as Arbery had been, thanks to the actions of of Mr. Bryan, well, forced into doing whatever he can to survive. That includes fighting back, trying to grab the gun of a person you think is trying to kill you. And remember, fight or flight, he was facing two men with guns, feared for his life. What happened to his right to self-defense? Obviously, we're going to see how the prosecution makes their case. Already, the jury has been criticized for being 11 white people, white citizens, I should say, and only one black person. So, is that going to play a factor? Probably. The trial continues to be ongoing, and I'll definitely talk about it more in further segments. But so far, I want to see how the prosecution continues to make their case that this was at least felony murder. I think maybe malice murder might be a little too much, but of course prosecutors got to aim high. But felony murder, again, I just don't see this being a self-defense case, or a citizen's arrest gone wrong. But we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.